door stopped 3 days ago. No one came to fix it. The guards walk by on time anyway. They don't need hours or minutes here. They move when the corridor hum changes. It's the 47th night since they took the pills away. I can still feel them under my tongue, chalky and sweet like dust on porcelain. Sertraline, alprazolam, clonazepam. Each name stitched into my memory like a patient number. Dr. Miller said they kept me calm. They also kept me from dreaming. Now the dreams have started again. They don't have images, only sounds. Static, echo, the drag of something heavy on tile. Sometimes I think it's my heartbeat. Sometimes I think it's the hallway. They told me to write. The nurse slid a pad through the slot in the door, said it helps to organize thought. So I write lists, medications, dates, people I might have touched. The pen skips every few lines. The ink dries faster than I can remember. The first entry reads, Daniel, North Wells Club, blue light, blackout. Every word feels wrong, too neat for what it was. The club had no name on the outside, only a red door and a security camera that never worked. Inside, mirrors instead of walls. Bodies moved in patterns that didn't match the music. The floor shook in small pulses. 90 beats per minute. The same rhythm the nurse measures on my wrist. I remember the smell. Cologne, disinfectant, something metallic. Daniel leaned close to say something, but the bass swallowed his words. I could see the veins in his neck jump with each beat. I had taken half a pill earlier that evening, the one that looked like baby powder pressed into wax. My doctor said half was safe. I don't remember if it was the same color as the drink he handed me. The glass was cold, too heavy for my hand. Someone bumped into me. The liquid spilled. Daniel laughed. My body didn't. The air turned thick, humid like a hospital waiting room. The lights strobed white, then blue, then nothing. I remember my heart stopping, or maybe it only slowed. Someone's hand on the back of my neck. Then a burst of cold air, like a door opening to winter. When I woke, my ears rang. I was sitting on the floor of a bathroom stall. My shoes were gone. There was a cup near the toilet with water gone gray. Daniel's jacket on the hook, his phone blinking on the sink. Each vibration, a pulse that didn't belong to me. I touched the mirror. The light flickered. My reflection lagged behind. My handprint stayed on the glass even after I wiped it. When I turned, the stall next to me was open. A smear of something dark on the tile. Not red, not brown. Something that smelled like pennies. I left through the back door. Outside, the alley was full of steam and police tape. A man shouted for everyone to step back. Flashing lights washed the walls clean, blue over gray. They didn't look at me. I walked until the noise faded and the air stopped shaking. At 4:17 a.m., I sat on a curb across from the river and watched the water move. I checked my phone. Daniel's name still on the screen. Last message blank. When I called, a voice said the number was no longer in service. It was less than 6 hours after I met him. No record, no profile, no trace. Like he was erased between songs. I remember walking home barefoot. The streets were wet, though it hadn't rained. A bus passed, windows fogged, no passengers inside. I counted my steps, 138 from the river to my door. The carpet outside my apartment was damp, the doorknob cold. Inside, the light in the kitchen was still on. The glass from earlier sat on the counter, half full. I smelled alcohol, soap, and something burnt. I poured it down the sink. The liquid left streaks that shimmered green under the bulb. I watched until the drain stopped gurgling. Then I slept on the floor. The police came 2 days later. They said there'd been an incident near North Wells. A man matching Daniel's description found behind the club. No ID. No face left to compare. They asked if I knew him. I said no. My hands didn't stop trembling for an hour after they left. Here, in this cell, they keep the light constant. No dusk, no dawn. I scratched times on the wall with a paperclip they forgot to take. 14 lines for 14 interviews. Each time I tell them I don't remember. They nod like that's expected. I think they already know. Sometimes, when the ventilation kicks on, I smell the same perfume from that night. Not mine, not his. Something that lives between air and skin. The guards say the vents recycle air from the medical wing. That's where they keep the evidence. The newspaper clippings they gave me have all the names blacked out. I trace the shapes of the ink bars with my finger. They feel raised, like healed scars. One headline still visible. Another body found near river. Authorities seek link to missing cases. I tear that piece smaller every night. I don't know why. Maybe to make room for the next one. In the corner of the room, under the bunk, I keep the medication list taped to the wall. The paper is stained with something dark from the ceiling leak. Sertraline, alprazolam, clonazepam, lorazepam, olanzapine. Next to each, I've written the side effects: tremor, dissociation, memory loss, emotional flattening, blackout. The last line has no name, only a space. I keep it empty for the next prescription. The nurse knocks once every morning. She asks if I still hear the music. I tell her yes. She writes it down. Then she leaves. The sound never stops. It hums beneath the floor, behind the pipes, inside the thin layer of metal between my room and the next. Sometimes I think it's the city itself, remembering what I did when I can't. Sometimes I think it's still Daniel, breathing through the walls. They said I should keep writing until the pages run out. I don't know how many sheets were in the pad. I stopped counting at 47. The last line I wrote tonight was his name again, slower, heavier. The letters tilting left like they're tired. Daniel. I keep writing until the pen scratches through the paper and touches the wall. The sound it makes is soft, like something trying to crawl out. The first thing I remember is the light. It came from below, not above. Cold blue rising through the floorboards like gas. Music thudded through the ceiling even before we stepped inside. Daniel paid in cash. The man at the door never looked at him twice. He said he liked quiet places, but the bass made the glass vibrate. He smiled when I laughed, though I wasn't sure I did. My mouth was dry from the pill I took before leaving the apartment. Half of it dissolved too fast, leaving a bitter film between my teeth. Dr. Miller said it was safe if I didn't drink. Daniel handed me something clear, said it wasn't strong. It tasted like water, but the aftertaste was sweet and metallic. The club had no windows, mirrors on every wall, ceiling low enough to touch. Smoke crawled between people's legs like something alive. Every few seconds, a flash of white froze the room. Bodies caught mid-breath, faces half-turned, eyes reflecting light like camera lenses. Daniel leaned close to speak. His breath was mint and alcohol. He said my name, but it sounded wrong, stretched out like someone else's. When he touched my arm, I felt my pulse climb into my throat, the sound of glass breaking somewhere near the bar. Someone shouted. The lights flickered again. I remember his hand on my back, steady, moving me toward the hallway. He said I needed air. The floor tilted, but maybe that was me. My shoes slipped. The hallway smelled like disinfectant, then bleach, then nothing. He asked if I was okay. I said something. I don't remember what. The next moment, his face blurred. There was a hum, deep and constant, like the noise power lines make before a storm. It came from inside my head. Someone opened a door. White light spilled out. I thought it was morning already. Then I was sitting on a bed that wasn't mine. My hair was damp, my skin cold. Daniel stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear. The blinds moved through the window was closed. He said something about the pills, about needing to check a dosage. I tried to listen, but his words kept repeating. Half, 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 over and over like a recording stuck in a loop. I blinked, and he was gone. The window was open now. The curtains moved without air. There was a sound in the hallway, a footstep, then another. Someone breathing through their teeth. Not his voice, not mine. I walked to the bathroom. The mirror was fogged, though the water wasn't running. There was a toothbrush, still wet, not mine. A towel on the floor. A stain shaped like a hand, fingers long, dragging down toward the drain. I turned the faucet. Nothing came out. The pipes moaned like something inside them was stuck. When I leaned closer, I thought I saw something moving just behind the metal. A flicker, like an eye-catching light. I went back to the bedroom. The phone was still on the bed. The screen was cracked. No numbers, just static. Then it turned off by itself. Outside, a siren started. It wasn't close, but it didn't fade. It stayed in one place, like it was waiting. I sat down. My hands were red from something, maybe rust, maybe wine. I smelled iron. When I tried to stand, my knees didn't move. The next thing I remember is the cold concrete, people talking, flashlight beams on my face, someone saying my name the right way this time, a hand lifting my chin, another voice saying, "She's calm. Leave her be." They asked what happened. I said I didn't know. They wrote that down. They asked where Daniel went. I said I didn't know. They wrote that down too. At the hospital, they washed my hands twice. The water turned pale pink, then clear. They said it was nothing, just irritation from cleaning fluid. The nurse handed me a cup. Half a pill inside, white, round, familiar. I swallowed it without asking what it was. When I woke up, I was already back in the facility. Different walls, same hum, someone else's jacket folded on my bed. Inside the pocket, a folded napkin with 2 words written in blue ink, "Take half." The day they released me from the hospital, the nurse said I should rest. She didn't ask where I was going. No one does when you look steady enough. They hand you the papers, the small white envelope, and you disappear again into the noise of the city. The sky over Chicago was gray that morning, the kind of gray that hums. I walked home through the underpass where the pigeons never move. My apartment door was unlocked, but everything was where I left it. The cup on the counter, the folded towel, the stain on the tile that never washed off. I took another half. It was habit by then, like brushing my teeth. The label said clonazepam 0.5 milligrams. Take as needed. No one ever asked what needed meant. That night, I met someone else. He said his name was Mark. He had the same cologne as Daniel, the same kind of wristwatch, same way of smiling without showing teeth. He asked if I'd been there before. I told him I didn't think so, but the hallway looked familiar. Same red carpet, same sound leaking through the vents. The music was slower this time, less like a pulse, more like breathing. He asked if I wanted a drink. I said no. Then I don't remember saying anything after that. The next morning, I woke up to a knock. Police. 2 men, one younger, one who didn't speak. They said they found a wallet near the river. Inside was a driver's license with Mark's photo. He was last seen leaving the club on Monroe. They asked if I'd seen him. I said no. They asked if I was sure. I said yes. They didn't write anything down. When they left, I looked at the glass on my nightstand, half full, the same green shimmer. Inside, a pill half dissolved. I went to the sink. The faucet groaned again. Water came out thick, brown at first, then clear. It smelled like chlorine and something else. Iron, maybe. The mirror above the sink had a small crack now, like it had been hit from inside. In the reflection, I saw the marks on my wrist again. Not bruises, lines, parallel, faint red, like something had been wrapped there too long. The next week I received a letter. No sender. Inside, a single photo printed on glossy paper. Mark, standing near the river. His eyes closed, mouth slightly open, like he was waiting to speak. Behind him, my shadow. I don't remember being there. I went to the police myself. They showed me a table with photographs, evidence bags, a file with my name on it. Voluntary statement, the folder said. Inside were copies of my prescriptions, the dosage logs, my discharge notes. They asked if I wanted a lawyer. I said no. They asked if I remembered Daniel. I said the name sounded familiar. They didn't smile. One of them slid a photo across the table. It wasn't Daniel. It wasn't Mark. It was someone else. Same face, different eyes. He looked asleep. The files said, unknown male. They told me his fingerprints matched residue on a cup found in my apartment. I told them I didn't own that cup. They wrote it down anyway. When they left the room, I looked at the one-way mirror. Behind the glass, something flickered. Not light, not movement, just the faint reflection of my own hand rising before I told it to. I pressed my palm to the glass. The cold went through. I stayed there until the lights turned off. The hum came back. Same tone as before, low and steady, the same one from the club. I heard the word half again, this time from behind me. The room was empty. Later, they said the interview lasted 40 minutes. They said I didn't move once. They said I stared at the wall and whispered something they couldn't record. I don't remember what it was. Maybe a name, maybe an address, maybe nothing at all. When I came back to my cell, there was another envelope on my bed. No handwriting, just the same blue ink used for the medical files. Inside, a prescription slip with one instruction: continue as before. I tore it in half. The next morning, the nurse brought another, this one already signed. The second disappearance never made the news. No photo, no name, no statement, just a number added to a list. I saw it once in the officer's notes. Case 47, pattern unchanged. That number stayed in my head all night. When I closed my eyes, I saw the river again. The same bridge, same fog, same hum. This time, there was someone else standing there. It looked like me. The walls changed color that week. Not white anymore. Something between bone and dust. The nurse said it was the light, but the bulbs were the same. They hummed the same note, a flat, constant C. I started counting hours again. Not by clock, but by the number of times the hallway door opened. 3 times meant breakfast. 5 meant medication. 7 meant night. There was no window, only a vent that dripped in rhythm. The first night without the pill, I thought my teeth were moving. Not falling out, shifting, slowly grinding against each other like gears. The sound came from inside my head. When I pressed my palms to my ears, it didn't stop. I asked for water. They brought me 2 cups, one empty, one half full. I didn't drink either. The metal tasted like electricity. At some point, I began writing things down, not to remember, just to confirm I was still thinking. The notebook was hospital issue, blue cover, pages thin enough to see through. Every word left an imprint on the next page, faint and backward. By the third day, I couldn't tell which side was the original. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Not fast. A slow, invisible tremor that made every letter waver. I kept writing the same phrase. Keep half. Keep half. I don't remember why. They changed my dosage again. Dr. Miller came once, said something about progress. He didn't look at me directly, just at the clipboard. He asked if I'd been sleeping. I said I didn't know. He wrote, yes. That night, the pipes began making a new sound. Not water, air, pulsing through like breath. It carried a smell, faint and metallic, like the river. I asked the guard about it. He said the maintenance team would check it. He said there were no pipes near my cell. I didn't ask again. The tremors spread to my jaw. Sometimes my fingers locked in place. When that happened, the nurse would mark something on her chart. She never said what it meant. They made me shower under fluorescent lights. The water ran cold, sharp, clean. My skin turned red where it touched the metal drain. I counted 7 small scars on my arms. Not cuts, not burns, just lines, always in pairs. On the 5th day, I heard someone say my name, not loudly, like a whisper caught in a microphone. It came from the intercom, but no one was on duty. The voice said, "Time to balance." Then silence. I wrote it down. When I looked back, the sentence wasn't there, only a faint smear of ink. The page below had the impression, reversed like a mirror. The next morning, they found me on the floor. No injury, no struggle. They said I'd been sitting upright, eyes open, unresponsive. I asked how long. They said 4 hours. I said I was awake the whole time. They didn't answer. In the mirror near the nurse's station, I saw myself for the first time in days. My pupils were uneven. The right one larger, swallowing the iris like spilled ink. My reflection's mouth moved before mine did. I blinked. The hum stopped. Someone dropped a tray in the hallway, metal on tile, loud enough to startle everyone but me. I looked down. My hands were clean this time. No red, no stains. Just dry skin cracking along the knuckles like old paint. That night, the nurse changed my bandages. She didn't notice the note tucked beneath them. A small square of paper, hospital stationery. On it, in faint pencil, someone had written, "Half left." The handwriting was mine, I think. The next morning, they said I'd be moved to another floor. Observation ward. Short term, they said. But when the doors opened, the elevator only went one direction, down. The air was heavier there. Every sound hit the walls and came back slower. My pulse echoed in my ears. For the first time, I thought I heard water under the floor. Not running, waiting. Someone's voice through the intercom again, calm, deliberate. Continue as before. The lights dimmed. My hands started to shake again. Not from fear, just repetition. When I looked down at the floor tiles, I realized something. They were the same pattern as the ones in my apartment. Same gray lines, same chipped corner near the drain. The same place rebuilt,